I'll call this regular meeting of council to order, and if I can ask everyone to please rise for the national anthem. I'll now ask if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Alderman Hessels?
Yeah, on the in-camera, item C, declare conflict of interest.
Okay, so we'll have the clerk note that. Are there any other disclosures? Okay, seeing none, we don't have any presentations tonight and we don't have any public hearings. We do have a delegation, so I'd like to welcome Jeff Atkin, Mission Manager of the Open Arms Mission of Welland, and he's here to present to us regarding an introduction to the work of the Open Arms Mission. And if that little red light's on, then the microphone's ready to go, so whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much for allowing us to come and introduce ourselves to you as Open Arms Mission and to the council. And I represent Open Arms Mission of Welland, Inc. We have 3 divisions: our Mission Center, which I'm the general manager of and the pastor of, our Redeemed Goods thrift store, which is out on Crowland Street, and our ministry campus located on Forks Road at Pikes Road. We want you as councilors to know that we serve residents of Wainfleet as well as residents of Welland. And how do we serve them? Well, our mission statement is pretty clear. Our Open Arms mission is called to demonstrate God's love, peace, and justice to those living in economic, social, and spiritual poverty in the Welland area. And as a not-for-profit Christian faith organization, we acknowledge that every person is created in the image of God and has an inherent value and dignity. And we assist as many people as possible to experience full participation in society. We are inclusive of whom we serve, and we strive to build value into the lives of those who come to us. And you as councillors of the Township of Wainfleet may have constituents coming to you for help, and by this introduction, we hope and to want to encourage you to send them our way. We want to help and serve as much as possible with the donations that have been entrusted to us to distribute. And so how do we help? We do this by several different fields. We do it by responding to basic human needs. We have a food bank and a hygiene bank where we helped out just last month over 886 people. We do that and also offer hygiene and baby products for children and for families. We inspire by helping people to achieve their full potential. We do job training at Redeemed Goods. We actually do job training just at our Forks Road location as well. We offer services, programs, and assistance which enable those in need to improve their lives. We offer flu vaccines at our location. We also offer mental health clinics and other clinics like that. We provide opportunities for people to hear and respond to the Christian message of God's love and forgiveness through Jesus. I don't know if you've heard, but we've got a gathering of about 40 to 80 individuals at Forks Road location in the barn. It's kind of an interesting stable. It's now been totally renovated. It's actually quite nice to sit in, especially in the middle of winter by the wood stove. We assist individuals and families to break the cycle of poverty in their lives. We realize that this is typically a habitual issue. This is a family cycle issue. So we offer money courses, like the CAP money courses for our clients, and other kind of programs to encourage them to break the cycle. We are a catalyst for healthy change within the community that we serve. We encourage those we serve to participate in and contribute to the life of their community. We find that that is absolutely essential, that they know how to give back, contribute back into their community. We do that by community gardens. We do that also. About 1/8 of our volunteer database is clients that are now helping out and returning. We cultivate a godly, committed, qualified team of staff and volunteers. Every month, we have about 150 returning volunteers that help out about 3 hours per week. We try not to exhaust our volunteers so that they want to come back naturally excited and wanting to help out the next week. We develop strategic partnerships with churches, individuals and agencies, governments, and businesses. Just this month, Bonnie Folkens, which serves as our counselor of our ward, is doing the Mayor Grape Stomp. And she's already collected over 1,600 pounds of dry food for Open Arms Mission, including 300 pounds of new, beautiful triple mixed meat, which we're super excited about. In closing, I'd like to just highlight that our newest division, the ministry campus, is located almost in the Wainfleet Township. You will likely see it as you drive along Forks Road. It's the old Claire's warehousing building. And we are trying to develop a large natural garden with goals to expand to greenhouse production to have fresh vegetables throughout the year. And we are in the beginning of stages, but would love to partner with locals who can volunteer and help develop this project that will benefit both Welland and Wainfleet residents. I just want to thank you so much for the privilege of being able to come here. Just quickly share a little bit about who we are. I did have right here, as you'll see, Norm is on the front page of our little brochure, and Norm is a client. And when Norm comes in, it does seem like an episode of Cheers. We know his name, he's a regular, we love him dearly. But inside that, you will see about our mission center, all those things that we offer in every location. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you now.
Okay, thank you so much for that presentation, and I almost wish you didn't mention Bonnie, because I'm in the Grape Stomp too, and I didn't get that many donations, so I already know that Bonnie's way ahead of me, but that's okay, it's all for a good cause. So yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. I've been out to the Forks Road location, and I just think it's phenomenal what you're doing. Does anybody from council have any questions for Jeff? No? Okay. Well, I think I can speak on behalf of council that we really do think that you're doing, a phenomenal thing. And I'll just add too that the barn that you were referring to, that's the men only. Yeah, I did manage to get a tour. I was told that was really taboo. I should be very honored that I got to see the inside, but I saw it newly renovated. So yeah, great job that you're doing. And in the future, if we can help in any way, pleasure to attend anything or be part of anything or promote anything for you. We'd be happy to do that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so yes, we have to do a motion to receive the presentation. So if someone can move and second it. Moved by Alderman Gilmore, seconded by Alderman Hessels. All those in favor? That's carried. And do we have any business arising from delegations? Okay, seeing none, I think we're good. Thanks, Jeff. Okay. So now we will move on to my mayor's remarks. And they're gonna be long because we're gonna make do some introductions and some bios tonight. So I'll start off though, I volunteered at Marshville last weekend and it was a great success. I don't know what their numbers were, but I'm going to guess it was one of their busier weekends. It was hugely successful, very busy, and they had great weather, as everybody could tell. And I had somebody commenting that at 4 o'clock on Monday, the parking lot was full and there were still people going in, so that tells you something. So congratulations to them for another really, really great event. And I think we all participated in the strat plan interviews last Tuesday, so that's one of the first steps in creating the strategic plan, and I know there will be public engagement to follow, and Lee has given us a memo to fill out about availability, so we are availability for more engagement, so we are moving along with that. And then going into welcoming some new staff, I'll just read this out tonight. We wanted to, I know we had them here last week for a special council meeting, but we wanted to welcome Chief Kevin Foster. So he's in his 28th year in the fire service and started as a volunteer firefighter in 1987 with the town of East Gwillimbury. I don't know if I'm saying that right, where he spent 13 years, and he became a career firefighter in the town of Richmond Hill and had qualified as a fire suppression acting captain. In 1999, he was appointed as the first full-time fire chief of the North Kawartha Fire Department, where he spent about 2.5 years. During that time, he completed a fire services review and implementation plan for recommendations of the review. He spent the next 13 plus years as the Director of Fire Services, Fire Chief, and Emergency Management in the town of Midland, where he led 16 full-time staff and 20 volunteer firefighters. During that time, he was successful improving the efficiency and effectiveness in the delivery of fire protection in the community. He has 2 boys, 20 and 14, an active member and chairperson of a community organization that spearheaded the construction of a second ice surface in East Gwillimbury and was recognized with a Volunteer Appreciation Award and Volunteer of the Year Award for his efforts. And then we have Mr. Randy DeGuire, who started he starts next week. Starts tomorrow. All right. And he is our new chief building official and brings over 12 years of field experience to the township. He has previously served as building inspector, municipal law enforcement officer in West Lincoln, building technical inspector in Welland, building inspector in Ajax by the lake, and building inspector, municipal bylaw enforcement officer in Niagara on the lake. Randy is a certified engineering technologist, has won several awards in his field. He is the past chair and deputy chair of the Niagara Chapter Ontario Building Officials Association. And then finally, we have Mark Tardif, who is now our bylaw enforcement officer, so a sworn peace officer with bylaw enforcement and building standards experience spanning back over 10 years and is our new bylaw enforcement officer. Mark started his public service as volunteer firefighter with the town of Fort Erie, where he served for about 4 years. After graduating from Niagara College's Law and Security Administration program, Mark worked in parking enforcement with the town of Niagara on the Lake, and he would go on to serve as bylaw property standards officer for the city of Thorold for some 6 years before becoming a building official with the city of Niagara Falls, a building official before returning to his passion and his roots in bylaw enforcement as our new bylaw property standards officer for the Township of Wainfleet. And Mark has a wife and 2 daughters aged 4 and 7. I always like to know if everybody has children. And then finally we have, who is here with us tonight, and I know we did a brief introduction and I totally buggered up your name at the last council meeting, but we have Wainfleet's new Deputy Clerk, Lee Gudgeon. I got that? Oh, close? Okay. Oh, I did? Okay, awesome. So Lee spent 13 years as a special assistant and senior advisor to federal and provincial members of parliament as a primary point of contact with members of the community and stakeholders in Perth, Wellington, and Middlesex counties. Lee worked to assist constituents in their dealings with government departments and ministries. He holds a master's degree in political science, specializing in international relations and political theory from the University of Western Ontario. He also holds degrees in philosophy and political science with distinction from King's College and Laurentian University. A Canadian Forces veteran, I did not know that, Mr. Gudgeon served with the Ontario Regiment's Reconnaissance Squadron and the Royal Canadian Armoured Corps from 1985 to 1990, where he retired as a corporal. As a member, Royal Canadian Legion, and as a private citizen has worked tirelessly to advocate on behalf of our men and women in uniform. And Lee is married, so for 17 years. Okay. I kind of botched the end of that. So that's really impressive, Lee. Very nice. Thank you. All right. So, and Lee has been really helping us with communications the last couple of weeks too, and we really appreciate it. I see his experience. I just see a tremendous kind of change in the way that we're dealing with a lot of that. So really appreciate your experience and your knowledge. It's definitely been a blessing. So going on with my mayor's remarks. Thursday, I will be attending the United Way breakfast kickoff in Niagara Falls at Heartland Forest. That's at 7:15 in the morning, just so you know. And then in the evening, I'll be at Regional Council probably till about midnight, just so you know. So it's going to be a long day. But wanted to be there for the United Way kickoff because we do support the United Way. And then Saturday, I will be participating, as I mentioned, in the Mayor's Grape Stomp as part of the Grape and Wine Festival. So I invite everyone to come out and watch, and we still are accepting food donations. We didn't get as many as we did last year, so I'm going to be bringing some in, but I kind of feel defeated now that I heard what Bonnie got. But our donations go to the firefighters' Christmas basket, so we're still accepting donations if people can drop them off this week, and I believe it starts at noon, and I can confirm that. They'll be sending an email to let us know the rundown, but it's fun, it's exhausting. It's not like you get a minute and you have to really stomp, and I was totally not what I expected last year. So this year I feel more prepared, and I might have some tricks up my sleeve to make up for the fact that I don't have food donations. I'll try and be humorous instead. On Monday the 19th, I will be attending a flag raising ceremony for Port Cares, and I believe that's their 30th anniversary that they're celebrating. So another fantastic organization that we support here in Wainfleet. And then on the Tuesday, they are celebrating the 30th anniversary and having their AGM and open house all at the same time. So I'm going to try to get to that as well. Wednesday, the 21st, is the Conservation Authority board meeting. They've been kind of doing a tour, rotating where the meetings are. So this meeting is at 9:30 in the morning at the Fort Erie Conservation Club. So everybody's welcome to attend that. Thursday the 22nd kicks off our annual fall fair with the parade in the evening, and then throughout the week, we all know the drill, but we've got Friday is the tractor pull and the fish fry, I believe. They still do the fish fry. And then all the events on Saturday, which would include probably the Iron Farmer, and I'm not sure if they're doing Wainfleet Idol, but those kind of signature events that they do, and then the Demolition Derby on the Saturday night usually closes out the fair. So it is their 50th anniversary. We will be marching in the parade. Meredith has done a fantastic job in asking staff to attend. So I think are we up to 12 staff? That's combined with council, and I'm going to assume council means Betty and April, and that's about it, I think. That's okay, well, no, that's okay. I know that you guys do your own. Oh, you're joining? Oh, you're not? Oh. Okay. You can let us know. We'll get you a t-shirt. So, what's that? Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know. I assumed you'd be in uniform and doing your thing. So yeah, we're very excited about it, celebrating their 50th anniversary, and staff has put together t-shirts. Betty's got a banner, and I think we're going to have a really good entry in the parade. And I think that's it. Oh, and I believe, I haven't received an email yet, but the Saturday morning we usually are invited to do the pancakes and the sausage, and usually Ted's cooking pancakes as fast as he can in the back, and then so keep that in the back of your mind for the Saturday morning. I haven't received anything yet. Frank's nodding, so okay, so we will be asked to do that, and that would be great. I'm excited, so maybe you might want to come by. Okay, so enough rambling. Tuesday, October 4th is our next council meeting, and that is it for my mayor's remarks. So we will move on to the adoption of minutes.
The minutes of the regular meeting of council held on August 23rd, 2016, and the minutes of the special meeting of council held on September 7th, 2016 be adopted as circulated.
Mover and a seconder, Alderman Dykstra and Alderman Gilmore. Any changes to the minutes, mistakes, errors, anything? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, and that's carried. Now we'll go on to staff reports.
Administrative Staff Report 30 of 2016 regarding the procedural bylaw update and council correspondence policy and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as circulated.
So I need a mover and a seconder to get that on the floor. Moved by Alderman Conk and seconded by Alderman Hessels. Were there any questions or discussion on this report? Alderman Hessels?
Yeah, under the procedural bylaw number 2, you want to remove the 3 separate readings, if it's not what I understand, so we're only going to have 1 reading?
So through Mayor Jeffs to Alderman Hessels, yes, there is no formal requirement for us to do 3 readings, so the first and second reading at one meeting and a third reading at a following meeting. So the procedural bylaw update is recommending that all 3 readings occur at the same meeting. So that just kind of helps streamline some processes. I know a number of times we've had to waive the procedural bylaw to allow third reading because things are urgent of nature with this council schedule. So sometimes, we've had to waive the procedural bylaw. So I'm recommending that we remove that requirement to have the third reading at a subsequent meeting.
If I may continue, I would kind of hesitate on doing that because, you know, we want to be transparent. We do 3 readings. I know sometimes things are urgent that we need to. There has been times we have changed our position from one council meeting to another council meeting on a thing because other information comes up, people approach us. Like, I don't know, I think we're really taking the transparency out of this if we ram it through in one night. Like, sometimes we're forced with some of these decisions and we don't get a whole lot of background on. So I'm saying, I don't care if we do 2 readings, but they should be on separate nights.
Okay, are you making a motion then to amend it to be, to keep it at 3?
Is it, like you said, we're gonna only do 1 reading? Or we do?
Or sorry, to change, I have a cold, and that's why I'm...
No, if we do 2 readings, that's all right, but that they be on separate nights, that we do not pass things on one night. And we can, if they're urgent things that we need to, I don't mind that we waive that procedure, but, so I'd make the amendment that we do 1 reading 1 week and 1 reading the following council.
Okay, like first and second, the first at the one council meeting and then third reading?
Yeah,
like
that's basically the way we're doing it.
Right. Is there a seconder for that motion? Alderman Dykstra. Any questions or discussion? I'm just curious, does staff see that? Have you found that that's held things up, or are you just thinking it's procedurally cleaner? Because a lot of times we're waiving the procedural bylaw to do the third reading. So that's good, if you want to comment.
So through Mayor Jeffs to all of council. So we are the only municipality in Niagara that still does these separate readings. Like I said, it stems from parliamentary law, and the province still does separate readings at different meetings to pass bills in the legislature. But for municipalities, there's no requirement. So I don't see it as being a transparency issue because the bylaws are posted with the agenda. So people are able to view ahead of the meeting and able to contact any members of council if they have any concerns with what's being considered. But again, this waiving the requirement for a third reading at next meeting kind of streamlines processes. For example, for zoning bylaw amendments, we're not having applicants wait potentially a month and a half or so for their approvals. So it just helps speed up some of the processes from the various departments.
To comment further?
I would just give an example of one time when it did change, is when we had the notification clause. We approved it at one meeting, and then the next meeting we reversed that decision because new information came up. So that's why I have an issue of doing it 3 times in one night. Because once you make a decision, you can't really reverse it after that.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask. You can repeal bylaws. Like I see your point but I also see staff's point, because it seems like lately we're continually waiving the procedural bylaw. So I see where they're coming from, like, let's just do it in the one reading. But then I see where you're coming from, because you're right, there have been the instances where, and that's a good example that you gave. So I don't know, I think if it streamlines the process, then it's worth, like, it's not a big, well, I shouldn't say not a big deal, but I mean, we can repeal a bylaw if we received a lot of input about it. And usually a lot of them have public meetings and stuff that go with them, and like you're saying, a report attached. So I don't know, I see both sides to it. I don't know if anybody else has any comment or question. Alderman Gilmore?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Too, Sarah, possibly a solution would be, I'm assuming, and you can correct me, do we have the option to defer the third reading every once in a while if it's an issue that maybe some of us have a level of comfort that would make us comfortable reading all three? We can defer the third reading.
Through Mayor Jeffs to Alderman Gilmore, yes, you can, if a certain bylaw, if you want to defer a third reading to a subsequent meeting of council, that would just be done by motion when we consider that bylaw. So I would only read it 2 times that evening and place the third reading on the next council agenda for that particular item.
Through you, Madam Mayor, if I could comment as well. Typically, a bylaw is also, staff will create a staff report, of which will then say in the recommendations that staff create the bylaws for council's consideration. So council would receive that council report, and the bylaw would come at the subsequent meeting. So under the first, second, and third reading, under now, potentially under that process, you could actually have 3 council meetings, a staff report, the next being a first and second reading, then the third reading being the fall. That would be normal process. And when our clerk talks about the other municipalities in the Niagara region, that's the typical process. So by putting it into the procedural bylaw, it reduces it from 3 council meetings to 2.
So I just want to be clear, so you're saying there'd be a report, and then there'd be, so the report would be the first meeting, and then the bylaw would come at the second meeting, and that's where it'd be, all the readings would be done. So it'd be 2 meetings.
Yeah, through typical process, staff would generate a report that would give council a recommendation. Typically within the recommendations, it would say that council direct the clerk to create the appropriate bylaws for council's consideration. If that report is approved, that bylaw typically would show up on the next council meeting for council's consideration. So to the point around there being transparency and some time to debate it, that is a typical process that municipal governments do follow.
Okay, any other questions then? So the amendment is to basically leave it the status quo. So I will call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Okay, and that's defeated. So back to the balance of the report. Were there any other items? Alderman Hessels.
The other one was 2.2. I don't know, most things it don't matter, but I am on the fire department. I do carry a pager, and if there's an emergency, I'd kind of like to be able to know or hear, and I think even the rest of council should be able to know and hear if there is an emergency, that we can keep our pagers on, or at least an emergency pager. It's 2.2, section E.
So through Mayor Jeffs to Alderman Hessels, if you want to make a motion to amend that section to permit the pagers for fire response, then we can include that in as a permitted electronic device during a council meeting.
Yeah, I would make an amendment just for that one, because I do believe it is an emergency thing, and we as a council for the community, I think it is important.
So a seconder for that, Alderman Gilmore. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question on that amendment. All those in favor, and that's carried. Okay, any other, Alderman Conk?
Madam Mayor, I'm looking under council correspondence policy. I'm not sure about the correspondence requesting money. What's been suggested here, I think, is kind of messy. I think what we need is, and we've been suggesting it since the top of last term, that we have a list of the people that we normally give to, and we abide by that list, and all others who make requests for donations or whatever, it's just automatically a no. And with regards to people who ask for waiving of the fees for the township hall, fire hall or whatever, I mean, that too can be put on the list as because there's only specific groups that ask for that. So I'm not fussy about that whole section. All right. So I don't know how we want to. That's just my opinion.
So you want to make an amendment, so you're talking like Marshville asked to have it waived so that they can prepare the soup for all those ones. But then if there's any one-offs that we're not expecting, like some sort of charitable organization out of the blue wants it, do you think though it would still be valuable for it to come through a treasurer's report then at that time? Because I kind of like the idea of then we'd have it all laid out for us, because a lot of times we're saying, well, where's this coming out of the budget? Or you're saying, no, we don't even look at those. It's just a list of...
Again, I think we've been saying for the last 6 years, we need to make a list so that we know who we donate to and who, and that's the list. And we've just never done it.
Could we... Yeah, go ahead and then I'll...
Through Mayor Jeff to Alderman Kong. I put that in there just kind of as a temporary placeholder because we don't have a permissive grants policy. I know that's something that's been discussed and something that we'd hopefully work with when we have a new treasurer. So it was kind of just a placeholder to accommodate some of those requests that we receive in the interim, and then we would have to go back and look at a permissive grants policy, which would outline who we give money to and how they request that money. So my intention with that section was just a placeholder because we do, in the interim, we will receive requests for funding for certain things, whether it be donations or waiving of fees. But it is something that is on staff's radar in terms of a permissive grants policy, which would be better at considering these types of requests.
Okay, so if I can continue, so can we put that on, give staff direction to bring forward a permissive policy for, if not next council after that, so that we've got that covered? Because again, we've been saying this for 6 years and just haven't gotten around to doing it.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we can certainly add that on our work plan. I was not aware that that was a request that was made of subsequent administration. I would expect that having it, I think you suggested in 2 council meetings. If council could indulge us, it would be better for us to have it for maybe the November or December council meeting, just with some of the things we've got on the go.
Okay, so Sarah's saying we're okay. That can just be like a staff request, staff direction.
And also under 14.23 secret ballot, how do we deal with, I don't know that you would call it a secret ballot, but when we are selecting members for committees of council, we don't, isn't that kind of a secret ballot? Like, how do we deal with that under that policy number?
So through Mayor Jeff to Alderman Kong. So previously there was a ballot circulated and council would vote.
Yeah.
So I think in the past couple of times when we've selected members to committee, we went into closed session to kind of discuss the qualifications of the various applicants. And then when we rose from closed session, it was kind of a vote going around the table. So that wouldn't be considered a secret ballot. If there was a piece of paper and you were voting on a physical ballot, then that would be considered a secret ballot. But because we're rising from closed session and then we go around with your choice for appointee to that committee, it wouldn't apply in that situation.
And one last comment about the resolutions, motion for resolutions being written. I'm not keen on that idea either. Typically, we just, if somebody wants to present a motion, we say, yes, at next council meeting, I'm going to bring a resolution forward. I'm not understanding why we need to put that in writing.
So Mayor Jeff to Alderman Conk. Putting it in writing just helps the clerk understand or capture what exactly a member of council is putting in their motion. So that requirement is actually in our existing bylaw. I just carried that forward. So I didn't change that section of the procedural bylaw. But you're right, in practice that hasn't, we haven't been doing written motions or resolutions. I think going forward, it would definitely be my preference and Lee's preference that if you had an idea of a resolution or a motion that you were going to make in a council meeting, that you at least have it written, so then when I'm making my notes here, I know exactly what the motion is. I think I've done a pretty good job of capturing the discussion and what the end result in the motion is, but I think it would be easier and clearer if there were a written motion attached to that, just so that I know exactly what each council member is trying to get at with their motion and that I capture it accurately.
Okay, so you're good? All right, any other questions from council members regarding the report? All right, so I will then call the question on the report. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. Okay, so now we're going on to the other report.
Public Works Staff Report 24 of 2016 regarding the road use agreement with FWRN LP and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as circulated.
So I need a mover and a seconder for that. Alderman Gilmore, Alderman Hassels. Any question or discussion on that report? Alderman Hassels, see, I know your body language. You're so lucky.
So what I take, we are gonna negotiate terms, and I don't know, maybe Richard could give us a little bit more on this.
Through your worship to all of council, it came. They approached us to come up with a proposed settlement. We met with our counterparts, West Lincoln, the region, and Lincoln abstained from attending that meeting, but the three of us met, and they're not confident they're going to be able to get the restoration done the way we want them to get it done, and they believe that the way we feel things need to be restored may be different than what they do. So their plan was to approach us and see if we could reach a settlement, and then we would do the restoration the way we seem fit, that meets our standards rather than what they think the standard should be. So the three decided that we would inform our councils, and that's what I'm doing here. The option will always be that we can always revert back to the road use agreement if we cannot reach a settlement that I deem, me personally, is something that will not affect any of the taxpayers' regular tax base to restore these roads. As far as I'm concerned, they damaged them. Whatever settlement that we come up with will cover the cost of any restoration. Just so, like I said, the whole idea is so the taxpayers do not take out of the general levy or any of the operating budgets to restore them back to where they were.
Yeah, and I guess that was my point. I didn't want it, if we did it ourselves, cost more than they were willing to give us, so then we'd be better off having them do it. So if we can come to that agreement, I'm acceptable.
Okay, any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. And now we're on to correspondence. So we have, oh, you got to read it.
The report of the correspondence to council dated September 13th, 2016, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as circulated.
So I need a mover and a seconder for that. Alderman Conk, Alderman Dykstra. I know we have a couple of items that we have to deal with. 301 was a refer to council, and that was regarding the bridges, the customs officers. So I don't know. I know that's been in the paper. So I don't know if we just want to, if we want to support that or if we want to receive for information. Alderman Conk.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we had correspondence a couple of council meetings ago from the region with regards to the self-same issue, and even though the town of Fort Erie has kind of succinctly put it that we need more customs officers on the border, which is absolutely true, What they haven't touched on is the need for more brokers to allow the loads that go back and forth on 18-wheelers to get back and forth across the border. So I agree with what they're asking for, but they didn't take it far enough, which is the comments that I was trying to make with regards to what the region is doing. They're kind of meddling in things that they don't understand. So this is a good start to ask the government to put more customs officers on. However, they'd be even better to have included more brokers to get those loads across the border.
So are you making a motion to support it? Okay. Seconded by somebody, Alderman Dykstra. If there isn't any discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. And then we had 306. So that was referred to council as well regarding the Fire Master Plan Implementation Committee. So I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that. Alderman Dykstra?
Through you, Madam Mayor, as a member of the Fire Master Plan Committee, just an update to council. This was stemmed from our last meeting. So they felt that they would like to, we agreed that they should send a correspondence item to council. They want to stay engaged, although they know at this point the township has engaged Dillon Consulting in regards to our Fire Master Plan. So basically what they're saying is they feel that it would be premature for them to just dissolve as a committee. They're committee members that are quite passionate about at least having some sort of role in this, so they were asking if they could at least continue on until probably take a recess and then just wait till we have the report back from Dillon Consulting.
So you're saying, so just kind of suspend the committee for the time being?
Yeah, the committee members want to still be the committee members, but they're willing to take a break till further notice, for lack of better terms, if council and staff feel that that would be all right.
Okay. Alderman Hessels, you had a question, or?
Well, not so much. I just maybe a comment that we just support their request.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Alderman Dykstra. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so, and then our final one is regarding the Pokemar. They are doing an elimination draw on October 1st, and so we had a lovely letter requesting some support there. So I know that kind of ties in with what we were talking about earlier about permissive grants. But I know that we typically can donate a door prize from some of the things that we have, like a gift basket in the office, but I don't know if anybody wants to comment. Alderman Hessels?
Yeah. Well, I think this is a pretty important thing in being on the fire department. We do not do water rescue. So if there is something on the lake, these are the people that we are going to call out. So in one way, I think it's probably a thing we should budget every year for, because I think it is important. It will help us out here. So.
Now, when you're saying budget for, does he need to be more specific as to what we?
Yeah, I didn't really look
Okay.
at that. I don't know if we went with the gold. That's a $500.
Alderman Hessels, it's being suggested that maybe we have a report come back to council. The only problem with that, though, is they need this for October 1st. So maybe we could, I don't know if you want to speak to that. Maybe we do something tonight, but then have a report for the future.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, if you're suggesting that this be something that be included for council to consider during the budget process, then council could pass a resolution tonight that directs us to, factor this into the deliberations of the budget. But yeah, if council wishes to make a decision tonight to meet the October 1st, that's something you're going to have to deal with this evening.
Well, if we're going to do that, I would say we do the gold, the 500.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Alderman Dykstra. Do we need to add to that motion to include it in the budget, or have you kind of captured that, or is that a separate, or? Okay, so do you want to include that? We'll do the 500 now, but then include it at budget time.
You want to make a staff report then for this, or?
No, through you, Madam Mayor, to Alderman Hessels, no, if your motion tonight says that you're recommending, or the resolution says that you support this year for $500, and that staff go away and bring it back for consideration as an ongoing support in the operating budget, there would not be a staff report required. It would just come forward in the 2017 operating budget for consideration by council.
And then I guess at that time, we could discuss again if you're for it or not. So yeah, I would make that motion then.
So we have a seconder. Any more comments? Alderman Dykstra, you had a comment?
Yes, in regards to the motion, just to be clear that the money's coming out of the council's already budgeted for the year, that would be coming out of council's donations, is that correct?
So through Mayor Jeffs to Alderman Dykstra, yes. So council has a budget line item for donations, so it would be coming from there.
There's still, as far as you know, I know you're not treasurer, but as far as you know, there's still enough money in there? Like,
At last check, when that was a couple of months ago, there was still some money in there to cover this, but that was a couple of months ago. But I do believe there is still cash in there.
Alderman Gilmore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just further to the discussion, I think it's probably also important that, and maybe more important, that some of us, all of us, make an attempt to actually attend the event and see what they do, because I understand it from the correspondence that we received, but actually attending would be another good level of support too. That we should be considering more of these events and trying to attend it and figure it out. But it does need to be included in the overarching policy, because every time we get these requests, it seems like, you know, it depends on maybe the day of the week or whatever. There's no hard and fast rule, and something that's important to one person may not be important to the other, and it just depends on the mood we're in. So I'd rather at some point have a more concrete policy as to how we go about it, because there's been a lot of things over the course of this past year that I personally felt are important that we didn't support. And I'm not suggesting that I don't think this is important, but it just demonstrates the point that was made earlier, that we need to tighten this up a lot.
I agree. Okay, so if there aren't any further questions, I'll call the question on the amended piece of correspondence. All those in favor? That is carried. I don't know if there's anything anybody wishes to address from here. If not, then I will call the question on the correspondence as amended. All those in favor? That is carried. And now we're going into bylaws.
Following bylaws be now read a first and second time this 13th day of September 2016. Bylaw number 67 of 2016 being a bylaw to repeal and replace bylaw 21 of 2010, being a bylaw to govern the proceedings of the Township of Wainfleet Council, the conduct of its members, and the calling of meetings. Bylaw number 68 of 2016 being a bylaw to establish a council correspondence policy for the corporation of the Township of Wainfleet, and bylaw 69 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 89 of 2000 being a bylaw to regulate traffic and parking on township roads.
Mover and a seconder for the bylaws. Moved by Alderman Conk, seconded by Alderman Gilmore. Alderman Hessels, you have a question? Well, you're looking at me like that. I know you have a question.
Yeah, I would like bylaws 69 read separately.
Okay. Do we have to make some sort of motion? Okay.
Following bylaws being now read a first and second time this 13th day of September 2016. Bylaw 67 being a bylaw to repeal and replace bylaw 21 of 2010, being a bylaw to govern the proceedings of the Township of Wainfleet Council, the conduct of its members, and the calling of meetings, and bylaw 68 of 2016 being a bylaw to establish a council correspondence policy for the corporation of the Township of Wainfleet.
Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder for those two bylaws. Alderman Dykstra and Alderman Conk. All those in favor? That is carried, and now we'll have the other one read separately.
Following bylaw be now read a first and second time this 13th day of September 2016. Bylaw number 69 of 2016 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 89 of 2000 being a bylaw to regulate traffic and parking on township roads.
Over in a seconder, Alderman Gilmore and Alderman Conk. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. Okay, so are there any notices of motion this evening? Okay, we don't have any proclamations. Is there any other business? Alderman Conk.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I attended the multi-municipal wind turbine working group meeting last Thursday in Chesley. They asked at that meeting that all of the member communities come up with a resolution to the OEB with regards to hydro rates and what it's costing our residents. And of course, as we know, in the throne speech on Monday, Ms. Wynne attempted to kind of deal with that. Unfortunately, I don't think she did a very good job. However, so I'm wondering if perhaps Mr. Gudgeon and I might be able to work on a resolution to bring that forward at the next council meeting, if that's copacetic with everybody.
Sure, yeah, I don't see a problem with that at all. That's your only other business?
That's it.
Wow, okay. Any other business from Alderman Dykstra?
Through you, Madam Mayor, maybe directed at Richard, I'm not sure. Over the past year, I have two, potentially, possibly three, a third, businesses that want board space advertising at the arena. And it seems like these businesses that are in Wainfleet don't have a direct communication line in a way of finding out how and rates. And I know one wanted to already be up for the fair, but I don't think it's timing. Do we not have a contact person that's supposed to be looking after this? Like, did we not have somebody appointed within the municipality?
Through your worship to Alderman Dykstra. Yeah, it's always been Jeremy for years. He looks after the advertising and the purchasing and implementation of those boards. If you want to hand me those businesses, give me those contacts. I'll do it myself if I have to, just try and get the advertising up for them.
If I may continue. So then, a business that wouldn't have approached me, how would they find out about this without asking? How would they know that there's space available? How are we reaching out to the businesses in Wainfleet? I'm wondering if we have a staff member that's working on this and that's capable of doing this, why have we not already contacted every business in Wainfleet saying there's spaces available on the boards? Like, these were just businesses that I've either done work for me or I've met through my occupation, and they're saying, yeah, we didn't even know we could, how do we get on the boards? We just thought they were just select businesses. It's a broken system. I'm just questioning as to how we can get to the next step.
Through your worship to Alderman Dykstra, it is part of Jeremy's new job description as a recreation coordinator to actually seek out, and he's just taken the position, and because of the construction that's taken place this year, we've been really tied up. But he has, it's on his agenda to develop letters for sponsorships, as well as going after some major sponsorships, rather than not just the locals, but as well as some major ones. But we are working on that process.
Thanks.
Okay, any other business? All right, seeing none, now I will have Sarah read the motion to go into closed session.
Council now move in closed session to discuss item under section 239, subsection 2B and D of the Municipal Act, personal matters about an identifiable individual and litigation or potential litigation, zoning bylaw infraction, one item. Item under section 239, subsection 2, subsection C of the Municipal Act, acquisition or disposition of land, a potential disposition of land, one item. Item under section 239, subsection 2, B, E, and F of the Municipal Act, personal matters about an identifiable individual and litigation or potential litigation and advice subject to solicitor-client privilege regarding Indian Creek, one item, and the adoption of the minutes of the closed meeting of council for August 23rd, 2016.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Alderman Gilmore, Alderman Conk, all those in favor, and that's carried. So the gallery can wait if they like for us to return. I'm not sure how long we'll be, but more than welcome to wait for us.